Hello students, welcome to the world of nature. Now, as you know, nature is the mother of all the living beings, and all the time there are several types of interactions of the nature factors like the biotic and biotic factor interaction, abiotic and biotic factor interaction, and abiotic and abiotic factor interaction. And these types of interactions actually makes the nature beautiful, colorful, and dynamic. So today we just concern about the biotic factors or the living world of the nature and also its fundamental unit. So let's start it. First of all, what are the criteria that makes the things as a living? So just see some pictures and try to gauge the features. Okay, the very first one, in that case, here there is a frog which is busy to laying the eggs, and from the eggs we get the tadpole, and from the tadpole we get the adult frog. Now it's the life cycle of a frog. Now this ability to produce the new offspring or new one, that particular ability of the living being is known as the ability to reproduce or reproduction. And the next case, now see here, we just watering the saplings, and the saplings are actually growing and they are increasing in their length, height, and their branching, etc. So this ability is known as the growth and development. And the next one, now see, now it's a cartoon. Now here the mother crocodile actually saying something to its offspring, and the offspring are very concerned about the communication. So this ability to hearing something or to listening something is known as the ability to respond. Now these are the three main features of being a living thing. Okay. So next one, if we see, our nature is very diverse. That means we get various forms of life. It's maybe in the form of plants and in form of birds, fishes, deer, butterfly, like that. So our diverse living being is actually the key of the beauty of nature. Okay. So if we see the different forms of the life, then we can divide the living world into many groups. So let's see. Now see here, this is the group of protists. That means these are the very tiny, small living things that we cannot observe it in our naked eye. So we need the microscope to visualize them. Okay. And next one, This one is the kingdom Monera. So this is basically the bacteria. So I hope you are well accustomed with the term bacteria. Okay, now the next one is the kingdom fungi. And the examples are mushroom, yeast, bread molds. Okay, next one, the kingdom of plants. So here we get different types of plants like moss, fern, big trees. Okay, and the last one is the kingdom of animals. So here we can observe different types of animals like insect, horse, sponge, earthworm, human, birds. All of these are included into the kingdom animal. So these are the 5 groups or kingdoms of the living world. Okay. But what is the key of the life? So just see some pictures. Okay. Now what do you think? What is the key of life? So all these pictures actually depict the cell. Now cell is the key of life or the fundamental unit of all the living beings. It is the basic structure of all the living things. And we can say the cell like that. It's the structural and the functional unit of all the living beings. Because these small, tiny, microscopic structure actually control all the biological reactions that can be found in the living being. And it is the basic structure or the brick of the building. So that's why the cell is the structural and the functional unit of all the living beings. Okay. So let's see the structure of a cell. Now this is the microscopic view of some cells of our buccal cavity. Now here this round shaped, oval shaped structure are actually the cell. And in every case we get a dense particle at the center of the structure. Now this particle is known as the nucleus. Okay, and the whole structure is surrounded by a membrane or the protecting covering, and that membrane is known as actually the cell membrane. And the space occupied between the cell membrane and the nucleus is actually the cytoplasm. So this nucleus and the cytoplasm is collectively known as the protoplasm. So cell is actually the membrane bound protoplasm. And there are another protecting membrane we can found in some special cases, that is the cell wall. So basically cell consists of a protecting membrane and the protoplasm. And protoplasm consists of the cytoplasm and the nucleus. And this cytoplasm contains many types of cell organelles. Okay, so let's see some types of cell and their structure. First of all, this one, there are many rectangular or elongated structure read like. Now each structure is actually a cell. Now if we enlarge the structure, then we can see this rectangular structure which is covered by the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, and over the plasma membrane there is the cell wall. Now as I told, cell wall is present in some special cases, so here the cell wall is present, and both the plasma membrane and the cell wall is the protecting membrane, and in case of that particular cell there is another type of protecting membrane known as the capsule. Now see, this all the yellowish portion is actually the cytoplasm, and at the center of the cytoplasm we already see the dense particle. Now here the dense particle, this is the nucleoid. Now this is the very important thing that store all the information of a living being. That means how they looks like, how they work in a biological function, how they execute this. All these informations are stored in this particular dense particle, and that is known as the nucleoid. So here this dense nucleoid remains captured or remain in the naked form in the cytoplasm, and that particular cell is known as the prokaryotic cell, and this is the primitive stage of the cell. Okay, so here another type of cell. Now see, the shape of the cell here is the hexagonal, and there is the yellowish portion known as the cytoplasm, and we get various types of cell organelle like Golgi apparatus, vacuoles, mitochondria, lysosome, chloroplast, and that is responsible for the greeny appearance of the cell. Okay, and the rough endoplasmic reticulum, ribosome, there is the nucleus. Okay, now here we get the cell wall, cell membrane, and this cell is known as the plant cell. Now we can identify the plant cell by the presence of chloroplast. Okay, now see, here the genetic material is remain confined in this nucleus. Now in the previous case, we just see the genetic material remains captured or remain in a naked form in the cytoplasm, but here it is confined into the nucleus. And in another case, if we see the animal cell, here the shape is oval or rounded, and here also the nucleus is present where the genetic material is stored, and we get all types of cell organelles except the chloroplast. And in the place of chloroplast, we get the centriole. Now that is the basic difference between the plant cell and the animal cell. And another one difference is that in the animal cell, we just get the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. There is no cell wall. So if we compare the animal cell and the plant cell, then we can observe the difference of their shape, their cell organelles, and their functions, and also their protective membrane. But in case of plant cell and animal cell, the common thing is that the genetic material remain inside the nucleus. And this type of cell where the genetic material is remain inside the nucleus is known as the eukaryotic cell, and that one is the advanced cell. So basically we get the two types of cell. First one is a prokaryotic cell, and these are the bacteria, and next one is the eukaryotic cell where we get the plant cell and the animal cell. Okay. Now if we see again the animal kingdom or the forms of the life, then we can see that the kingdom Protist and Monera is actually made up with only one cell, and all the biological functions are executed by this particular cell. So this single cell is the structural and a functional unit, and that's why this type of organisms are known as the unicellular organism. Now here uni means one and cellular means cell, so this is unicellular organism. But the rest of the part, fungi, plants and the animals, generally they are multicellular. That means their body is made up with multiple cells, and we get the division of work. That means there are some groups of cells that are particularly concerned about some particular functions. Okay, and this feature is known as labor of division. And as their body is made up with multiple cells, this is known as the multicellular organism. So according to the presence of the cell or the number of the cell present inside the organism, we basically divide the living forms into two broad categories. First one is the unicellular and the next one is the multicellular. So this is all about the fundamental unit of the living organism and the world of living things. Thank you.